Welcome to my study today. There are lots of pronouns in English, but today we're going to look at the reflexive pronouns. That's words like myself, yourself, herself. We'll also look at the phrase each other, and at the end of the video there's an exercise for you to practice. So let's get started. Let's remind ourselves of the subject pronouns, words like I, you and he, and the object pronouns which follow the verb me, you and him. The reflexive pronouns are slightly different. Myself, yourself, oneself. That's the impersonal reflexive pronoun, used not very often now these days in English, but you'll still hear it. The third person pronouns, and finally the plurals. We use a reflexive pronoun when the action of the verb is carried back to the subject in the sentence, so it looks like the subject and the object are both the same. Look at this example. I hurt myself by falling over, said John. You notice that the verb is hurt, I is the subject, myself is the object, but they are both the same, so we use the reflexive pronoun. But of course that pronoun changes depending on who is speaking. I could say, John has hurt himself. Or I can ask the question, John, how did you hurt yourself? So you have to be careful which pronoun to choose. Let's look at them in detail. I saw myself in the mirror. This is a good example because if you think of the word reflection, then you remember it's a reflexive pronoun. Look out, you will hurt yourself. Peter helped himself to the cakes. Sam has made herself unpopular by shouting too much. One must be allowed to please oneself. That's the impersonal use of oneself. It does sound rather pompous, and you won't hear it much in modern English, but some people still do say it. This robot thinks for itself. We have taught ourselves to dance. You have made yourselves the best in the class. They are pleased with themselves for passing the exam. Here are some points to note about reflexive pronouns. Let's just remind ourselves where we use an object pronoun. John hit him. In other words, the action is transferred from the subject to the object. But with a reflexive pronoun, the two are the same. John hit himself. Subject and object are the same. So how do we fit in each other? That sometimes looks like a strange phrase in English. Well, it's like this. Mark and Ali looked at each other. Or sometimes we can say they looked at one another. When the subject of a sentence is a pronoun, as in this sentence, he, we do not follow it with a reflexive pronoun. We use an object pronoun. He took his cat with him. The reason's quite simple, really, because he couldn't have taken the cat with anybody else. It's obvious. He took his cat with him. But, and there's always a but with me, he paid for himself. Take care of yourselves. You notice the verb here is followed by a preposition, so therefore we use the reflexive pronoun. We can express the idea of being alone with reflexive pronouns like this. Mary was at home for 3 days by herself. The idiomatic use, Mary was at home for 3 days all by herself. And of course we can say she was on her own, she was alone. Now we can use the reflexive pronouns for emphatic use. Look at this paragraph. The puppy can wash itself. Well, clearly the puppy is the subject of can wash, and itself is the object, and they're the same thing, so it's a reflexive pronoun. But the sentence underneath is slightly different, and I would say it slightly differently. I know he can. I saw it myself. And myself there is for emphasis. You, yourself, said he was very clever. Peter, himself, said the puppy is an intelligent animal. It's an emphatic use of the reflexive pronoun. We don't use reflexive pronouns with these three verbs: feel, relax, concentrate. I feel great after a 5k run, not I feel myself great. And quite often with wash, dress and shave, although you can use them, we generally leave them out because they are understood. He got up, washed, shaved and dressed. But the exception is I dried myself. We have to use the reflexive pronoun there. I dried myself on the hotel towel. If you found this grammar lesson useful, could I ask you to subscribe below and ring that bell? Thanks. Now let's move on to the exercise for you to practice. Complete the sentences with a reflexive pronoun or each other. And here are the answers. Next time we shall look at inversions in English. That's question forms and adverbial phrases. So, thanks for watching. Please subscribe below and I'll see you next time. Bye!